So, doing that mirror book?
Yep.
Usually let me do the report this time.
What would be the advantage of you doing it instead of me?
Well, you know,
It would be evil?
they won't even know what hit them.
Tell me, how does one make a book report evil?
Well, there's a lot of exposed arms. We do a lot with knives, evil facial hair.
We both already have beards.
Then maybe you're the evil one.
I can guarantee you I'm not.
Prove it.
I'm not dressed like an idiot.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go do some crimes.
Yeah, well, why don't you go get some sushi and not pay?
It's another Diane Duane day! Dark Mirror. So since starting this project, I've become a big fan of Diane Duane. We've done videos on The Wounded Sky, and most recently, Spock's World. Both excellent books. Spock's World is a world-class #1 all-timer. But I gotta say, I'm not a particularly big fan of the Mirror Universe, so this glowing review is tempered a little bit by that. But before reading the book, I had been glad that TNG never did a Mirror episode, although many people seem to consider yesterday's Enterprise to be sort of an almost Mirror episode.
And to make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise.
But after reading Dark Mirror, I kind of feel like TNG could have done maybe one, like this one. DS9 did way too many.
I'm Kira Nerys. That makes two of us.
Especially when they had other better ongoing plot lines they could have used the time. Anyways, so per the historian's note at the front of the book, Dark Mirror takes place during Season 4, which is peak TNG. So here's a question for you at home. Which TNG episode from Season 4 would you swap out to put in this Mirror Universe story? I'll wait. Personally, I think I'd easily trade out Night Terrors. I know John Vickery is in it. He's one of my favorite character actors. I think he does a lot of theater, so you don't see him in TV too much. But his Star Trek work, his Babylon 5 work is fantastic. He's not given much to do in Night Terrors.
I think he's Betazoid. It's all right. I'm going to help you.
But, you know, you see him as Gul Rasat in Deep Space Nine.
A few more Cardassian neck bones from your belt. Admit it, Kira. You won't be satisfied until every one of us is dead.
Or he's two different characters on Babylon 5, especially when he played Naroon, who is one of my all-time favorite characters on a show that's loaded with my favorite characters.
If Mr. Garibaldi fails in his search, I may find it necessary to have my ship assume the job of taking this station apart.
I'm willing to give that up for Dark Mirror. Night Terrors is my choice. It's completely expendable. Disagree with me in the comments if you think there's a Season 4 episode you'd rather lose, but show your work because this is tedious.
Where are you? I have to find you. I have to...
Anyway, the first thing we need to talk about is this thing Diane Duane has done yet again, which is great, which is to bring in a specialist officer to help engineering with a unique project. And since it's a book, that specialist is an unfilmable non-humanoid. In The Wounded Sky, it was K'Telk. Here, it's Commander Hui. Hui? Commander Hui is a space dolphin. Cetacean Ops, baby! No, it's not technically Cetacean Ops. I've always loved the idea of Cetacean Ops, that not only have we successfully figured out how to communicate with our marine mammal friends, but they're super skilled at space navigation. There's a section about it in the TNG technical manual, but we never got to see it in action until South Park, until Lower Decks.
I would love to, but there's no time.
And more recently, Star Trek Prodigy. Isn't Prodigy great, by the way? Anyway, Commander Hui makes his way through our environment via a field that encases him in a layer of water, and he hovers about 4 feet off the ground, essentially swimming through the air. He's a fun character, while still very much fitting in with our Enterprise regulars like a guest star, which he very much is. I guess he breathes water? I don't quite understand the whole thing, but I'm not asking questions, because it's very cool. Because it's Hui who notices early on into the mission to study strings, cosmic strings, but not the ones that they crashed into that one time. It's different kind of strings. It's science.
So, it's like a cosmic string?
No, that's a completely different phenomenon.
Hui is the one that realizes that the Enterprise has been drawn into another universe. The Mirror Universe. They soon realize they've been boarded when they catch the mirror version of a junior officer hacking into their computer core. He doesn't last long, but they soon realize that the ISS Enterprise is after them. But their Enterprise has better sensors, so they're able to stay out of sight for the time being. So they find the transporter platform. They find the transporter platform that the Mirror Universe guy used to sneak on the ship, and use it to figure out a way to get on board the Mirror Enterprise and stop their doppelgangers from taking over the Federation. Another question for the folks at home: who would you select as an away team for this mission? If you're enjoying this video, why not buy my book? Flight of the Pangolin is the story of an intrepid group of heroes who decide to exit the solar system over the objections of an isolationist faction. There's actually a lot more going on than that. There's space pirates, a giant spider for no reason, all kinds of other things. Buy it now online wherever you buy books or at our website, www.thepangolinrepublic.com. You can also get fun t-shirts and random other stuff if you want. Who would you select as an away team for this mission? Your away team is Geordi LaForge, Counselor Troy, Captain Picard.
Who are three people who have never been in my kitchen?
Geordi's role is obvious. There's great risk in Picard beaming over, but as the captain, he would have a great deal of access as well. But more surprisingly, the next greatest level of access is Troy, since her doppelganger is the security officer, and almost a kind of commissar or political officer for the Terran Empire. She's also more than a bit of a sadist who really likes using the agony booth and uses her mind powers just generally unethically. The book takes some time to explore how the Mirror Universe has progressed since the TOS episode Mirror Mirror, and a curious Picard dives into the computer banks to discover where in history the Mirror Universe diverged from his home timeline. Its recent history, the Terran Empire's eventual inevitable collapse, which is apparently coming soon. Of course, the most fun part is seeing how the mirror versions of our favorite characters differ from their regular counterparts. Most everyone in the Mirror Universe is about what you'd expect. There's no real surprises, with maybe one exception. Worf seems like regular Worf if he'd grown up under different circumstances, which is, to me, more interesting than the typical everyone is the same but evil characterization that these mirror stories tend to boil down to. Surprisingly, there is no mirror counterpart for Data, as Dr. Soong was killed in that universe before developing androids. So Data fans are out of luck, though of course original recipe Data has a supporting role. I feel like I keep saying that for these TNG books, but I know I have some Data-centric books lined up in the future, so stay tuned for that. So Diane Duane does her level best, but this is not my favorite book of hers so far. Her prose doesn't stand out as beautifully as in the earlier books I read, but I think a lot of that is down to the subject matter. She does a few ingenious things with the Mirror Universe, and there's some fun plot developments and twists, but I think she's ultimately held back a bit by the Mirror Universe being kind of a limited idea. Look, I think a good author can make any story work in any setting, but I think the Mirror Universe is tailor-made to tell really dumb, simplistic stories with all the subtlety of a bag of hammers. And much credit is due to Diane Duane for making this one way smarter than most. What she does manage to do, as always, is nail the characterizations of our heroes. Everyone sounds exactly as they should. More than anything, though, this is worth a read for Commander Hui, yet another charming, smart, unfilmable specialist. I've seen some criticism that Hui is just a retread of K'Tilk from The Wounded Sky, but the specialist working with the Enterprise for one episode is a trope as old as TOS, if not older. It's not Diane Duane's fault. She knows how to squeeze the most mileage out of it. Overall, like I said, not my favorite Diane Duane, but definitely one of the better Mirror Universe stories I've experienced, and one that could have stood beside many of the better TNG episodes, quality-wise. If you like Mirror Universe stories, this is definitely for you. This is a high watermark for Mirror Universe stories. If you don't like Mirror Universe stories, it's Diane Duane. It's worth a shot. So that's all I have for this time. Stay tuned for the next episode of Mike's Book Report, where I talk about another book you haven't thought about in years. No, wait, no! Yeah, man, we're doing this. Pride and Prejudice, baby. Jane Austen. Yes! This book is so great. It's got like all kinds of pages. It doesn't really have any pictures. But there's all kinds of stuff. It's got pages. It's got like 315 pages. The type is very small. Pride and Prejudice! I can't read.
Correct response is, what were the real names of Cary Grant, Tony Curtis, and Joan Crawford?
Be that as it may, Alex, those people have never been in my kitchen.